After a couple of years, we decided that we had made a big mistake. Hey guys, Brian here. I'm just heading out to grab an armload of firewood. I forgot. I was supposed to grab the sled. Gives me another minute to talk to you wonderful, beautiful people. For those who don't know, we are building our kind of permanent homestead on the other side of the property. Our property, we have 50 acres. It's split down the middle by this large stream, and it kind of cuts it all in half. You can see this is a new building here. It's not very big. It's a tiny house, but that's where we're living in. We did the camper for a long time, and it's much better than the camper. So yeah, we moved down to the other side of the property here. We're going to build kind of the permanent homestead down here. And this is what I want to talk about. If you're buying land and want to build a homestead, become very familiar with your land before you build. After a couple of years, we decided that we had made a big mistake with where we had started building and locating. We had to make a decision. Were we going to just keep going on and trying to push through and make it work in the less ideal place, or were we going to move to a better, more advantageous place? We made that decision that things were just going to be easier for us down here. Things were going to be better for a lot of different reasons that would take me a while to get into. You'd really have to know and become familiar with the property to understand. But that's what's going on. If you've bought a raw piece of land and started to build on it, build a homestead or something like that, you may come up to a point where you regret where you decided to build. Become as familiar with the property as you can. We did. I mean, we explored the property. We knew the lay of the land. We'd walked around it, and I mean, it's 50 acres. It's a big property, and it's all wooded and forested, but we thought we'd picked a good location, and in a lot of ways it was a good location. But it wasn't until we lived on that location for a while that we realized that it just wasn't working as well as it could. We made the decision. We built a small cabin. The plan was we were building small, and then we were going to add on to it, put additions onto the house. We had not started those additions yet. That made the decision to come over here and build a much easier decision. The house that you saw back over there, that's actually not the forever house either. Wait a second, I thought the whole thing was that you were, finding a better place to build the forever homestead house. Well, yes, this is part of it. What we decided, we have 3 kids, they're growing up, they grow quick, and we decided instead of building a large house with 4 bedrooms, room for all these kids and everything like that, and then they're going to grow up, they're going to move away, they're going to have their own families, etc., and then we have all this empty rooms and empty space. What we decided to do is we would build a smaller house for us, bigger than this, but a smaller house, something that's a good size for Molly and I. Instead of building 3 bedrooms, we built 3 tiny houses next to it. And this house is built in a way that it could be pulled up onto a flatbed truck and moved, so that in the future, when they're adults, they could take it with them. If they buy their own piece of property or a different part of the property here, they'll have a home no matter what. I had a period of time where I lived in my car, and I don't want my kids to have to go through that.
Clicking the like button is like using your turn signal. It's not hard to do and only takes a split second, yet most people won't do it. Don't be that guy. Use your turn signals and click the like button.
The big house is going to take quite a while, and we wanted to get something done and get things moved and rolling. We built one of the tiny houses, and we're all in this one. Well, we built the other 2 tiny houses and then the main house down over here. It's a little tight, but honestly, it's got a loft in it. The kids' room's up all in the loft. Molly and I are down at the bottom. So far, it's working out pretty well, and it's a lot easier to heat. I'll tell you that with the wood stove. We're going through much less wood than we have before, and it's much warmer than we could get the other house. In fact, there's times where it's so hot we were opening windows and everything, trying to cool it down. But it is cold out here right now. I'd say it's probably in the teens. It's hotter than heck inside the house. I'm bringing firewood in for the night. If you're in a homestead or just have some acreage and you're in a place where you get winter and snow and stuff like that, easy way to move things around, jet sleds. So you can put it behind the snowmobile, you can put it behind the four-wheeler, or just pull it with a rope like this, and it's great for moving firewood. Where during the summer, doing something like this, I might use like a wheelbarrow or a little trailer and four-wheeler or something like this. This would take me, I don't know, probably 2-3 trips to carry it all into the house, whereas I can just throw it all in the sled, bring it up there, and it makes it easy. So there's a homesteading tip for you. If you're in a winter wonderland like what we have here, There's cheap ones. In fact, I had a really cheap one that I bought off Amazon a couple years ago. Actually, our first winter here. And it was like $20 or something. And it was really thin, kind of cheap, but the thing lasted for like a long time. I was surprised the beating that thing took. Finally, though, it was just in tatters and pieces. And I bought this one here. This is actually a jet sled. It's like a jet sled junior. It's a smaller one because most of what I'm using this for, I'm pulling by hand rather than with like a snowmobile or something. And so bigger than this, it's heavy and harder to pull. This does most of what I need for me, especially stuff like this, bringing in a load of firewood for the night. The only issue is there's a Pelican jet sled. So it's the name brand. I paid like $100 for it. This plastic gets brittle when it's cold. And if you drop something, like if you drop a piece of firewood into it and it hits it wrong, it can just break a hole in it. So something that's made to be used in the winter probably should be made out of a material or type of plastic that doesn't get so brittle in the cold. Whereas the cheap, crappy $20 one I got off Amazon, it was a thinner material that was it was more flexible. This is thicker plastic and it's more rigid. It seems to break a little easier. The other one had some flex to it, even when it got really cold. This, I've already punched a big hole in the bottom of it. This is the second winter I've had this one, and it put a hole like this big through the bottom of it. I was a little disappointed in that. Having a jet sled in the winter for moving some things around, hauling in firewood, cutting trees in the back, and we take the cut logs and throw them in the sled to move them to where we need to. It works great. They are a little noisy, so hopefully you can still hear me over the sound of this. If not, I will, when I review the footage, if you can't hear me, I'll cut something else in here.